Hello everybody, welcome to lesson 50, decimal fractions and place value. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to understand decimal place value as a natural extension of whole number place value, as each place value is worth 10 times as much as the place on its right. If that is a little confusing, don't worry, it will all be explained. Please remember to pause the video before I go over the answers on each page. Complete the questions by yourself, then check to see if you are correct. So let's begin. Consider the place value of the digit. So first of all, how would we read this number here? If you said 4,183, you are correct. And on a place value chart, it would look something like this. The value of the 4 is 4,000. So we could put it in expanded form. So we have 4,000 plus 100 plus the 8 is worth 80 plus 3. Okay. Fractions with the denominator 10, 100, or 1,000, or 10,000, and so on are called decimal fractions. Mathematicians call them decimal fractions because they convert to decimal numbers easily. Determine which of the fractions shown are decimal fractions. Well, this is 1 because it's out of 10. Out of 100 is also 1. And the next one would be out of 1,000. And out of 1 billion would also be a decimal fraction. Okay? So these are easy to convert into decimals. And we'll learn about how to do that. Is the fraction a decimal fraction? This one here is because it's out of 100. This one is because it's out of 1,000, and this one is because it's out of 10. None of the other ones we would call decimal fractions. So here is a place value chart that you've seen in the past. So in addition to the numbers here on the left that are bigger than 1, we are now talking about decimals, and these are all the numbers that are less than 1. So the example below is 16, we would say 16 hundredths. So if you think about money, that would be like 16 cents, and 16 cents is obviously less than $1. Here's a diagram that shows one whole number strip divided into 100 equal parts, and we have 16 shaded in. If we had all 100 shaded in, then we would have the number 1 whole. So a lot of people would read the first one as so. They would say 10.6, but the correct mathematical way would be 10. The decimal point in math, we always use the word and for, so it's 10 and 6 tenths. Okay? This one would be 6 and 2 hundredths. The 2 is in the hundredth spot, that's why we say it that way. And this one here would be 10 and 58 hundredths. And here we have 6 and 2 tenths. Okay, I'm going to show you a little trick. After the decimal point, when there are no more numbers, you can always add the number 0. It doesn't change the place value. Okay, so before this was 6 tenths, and now it would become 60 hundredths. 6 tenths looks like this. 60 hundredths looks like this. And these are both equivalent fractions because we multiply both numerator and denominator by 10. For this example, we had 2 tenths, and now it became 20 hundredths. 2 out of 10 is equivalent to 20 hundredths. We multiply both by 10. So that proves that when you add that 0 after the decimal point, when there are no more numbers left over, there's no more numbers here to the right, it doesn't change the value. And now we could talk about it as money. So here this is the same as $10.60. This is the same as $6.02. This is $10.58, and this is $6.20. money always helps to understand decimals a little bit easier. So the question at the bottom says order the numbers from least to greatest. Well, the smallest amount here is $6.02. Then we would have $6.20. Then we would have $10.58. And finally, $10.60 is the largest amount here. So moving along, what is the place value of the 8 in 119 and 8/100ths? So if we put that on our place value chart, 119.08. So that's, we would say 119 and 8/100ths. It's in the 100th spot. So the 8 is worth 8/100ths. And 8/100ths looks like this, or as a decimal, it looks like this. Notice how 8/100ths is kind of like the number 800 backwards if you ignore that decimal. That's one way to remember it. What is the value of 0 in 0 and 15/100ths? Well, that's pretty simple. That 0 is here in the ones place value. So that would be like $0.15 or 15/100ths. Identify the place value and value of the underlined digit. Write the value as a number and in words. So 1/100ths would look like this. 1 out of 100, which is the same as this. 0/10ths, well, it's like 0 out of 10. 6/10s is 60. 9/1000s is like this, 9,000. 8/1s is simply 8. And 0/100ths would be, I guess you could write it like that, 0/100ths. Where should I place the decimal point so the 5 has a value of 5/100ths? Well, if we think of our place value chart, if I put the decimal point here, the 3 is in the 10th spot and the 5 is in the 100th spot. So we would read that as 7 and 35/100ths. Where should I place the decimal point to make the 2 have a value of 2/10ths? Remember, the tenths is the first spot to the right. So if I put my decimal point there, I can call this 0 is optional. So that can be 2/10ths, which is the same as, if I put that 0 back, as 20/100ths. These are equivalent fractions. And notice that there's symmetry. So if 1 is in the middle, the ones place, here we have the tens. Just to the left and just to the right, we have the tenths. 2 places to the left of the ones, we have the hundreds place value. And 2 to the right, we have the hundredths with a TH. Here we would have the thousands, and here we would have the thousandths. So thousandths basically means I take 1, I divide into 1,000 equal parts. Here we would have 10,000s, and here we would have 10,000ths. So you can notice that there is symmetry there, which means if I drew a line right down the middle, that it's like a mirror image. From 1s to 10s, we multiply by 10, right? To turn 10 into 100, we multiply by 10 again. To turn 10 or 100 into 1,000, it's a multiplication of 10. And then to make it into 10,000, that's another multiplication of 10. So if that's true to the left of the decimal, is that true to the right of the decimal? It is. Think about this way. Hundredths is like a penny, and tenths is like a dime, is like 10 cents. So to make a penny into a dime, you need to have 10 of them. You need to multiply by 10. And to make a dime into a dollar or a loonie, you need to have 10 again. So as you're going to the left, you're always multiplying by 10. Now, when you're going to the right, the opposite is true. You're dividing by 10. So 10,000 divided by 10 is 1,000. 1,000 divided by 10 is 100. 100 divided by 10 is 10. 10 divided by 10 is 1. 1 divided by 10 is a tenth. A tenth divided by 10 is 100th, and so on. So this pattern continues. So it's important to see that 7/10. Well, remember 7/10 is the same as 70 hundredths. So 70 out of 100 would be the correct one here. Here this is 9 hundredths. Here we have 8/10, which is the same as, since it's out of 100, I need to multiply both top and bottom by 10. So this is 80 hundredths. And here we have 4/10. All right, that's it for this lesson. Go ahead and please work on page 53 in your Jump Math books and contact your teacher if you have any questions. Good luck.